Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis updated commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities, ETFs that I follow. I'm going to interject my financial opinion as we go through it. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com right there. That's where I dive deeper into all these topics, sectors, individual companies looking for potential investment opportunities. I'm looking for that great risk reward bet with a high probability of success in a lot of these different sectors. I try buying them when they come down in certain areas where there's accumulation and then ride them on up. Obviously, no one's going to be perfect. You're not going to time everything perfectly. So what I do is I hedge myself with time and get those sectors with all the tailwinds behind it. That's the three pillars, the ratios, the technical analysis, and the technical. So it's all of those things put together. So let's dive in today. Let's take a look, see what's going on in the markets. We're going to start with the DXY dollar. It does look like it's trying to put a little bit of strengthening together. We do have this bullish, you could call it a bullish engulfing / bullish piercing candlestick there. We had smaller selling pressure come back, and now we've got another bullish engulfing candlestick where we could work our way higher in the dollar in the short term. The longer term, on a different time frame, we still have downside pressure falling from this bigger pattern above. So we have a longer term selling pressure weight on us. In the short term, it's trying to turn and turn on up. And we'll see what follow through we get in the short term and if it can overcome the longer term downward pressure. So the momentum is downward. In the short term, I'm seeing signs that this is trying to put in a little bit of a bottom and potentially turn higher. That's what we're seeing over the past 4 trading sessions right here. That is a bullish, more of a bullish formation. We've got the 2-year heading up. This is what's driving the dollar higher. This is also putting in more of a bullish stance. It's in the same situation as the dollar. We've got a broken pattern heading lower. And now we're trying to put together a little bit of buying pressure here. You can see that the red candlesticks are kind of more compressed here, and we're starting to get the green army, the big green elongated candlesticks like this guy here and this guy here. They're starting to come into play. And when they come into play, that's when the buyers are trying to turn this and turn it on higher. Or I should say the yields. So it'd be sellers of bonds, yields moving up. So this is the 10-year. This is also working its way on higher in the short term. You can see that little movement there working its way on up. But on the longer term, we've kicked out of the pattern to the downside. So again, you can be bullish and bearish on different time frames, and that's exactly what I'm describing is different time frames. I'm bearish on the longer term, but in the short term, we could see a move higher where that move started on this candlestick there, which is a bullish engulfing, where we could work our way up for a little while. We'll have to look to see what pattern it creates. We very well could be creating some sort of flag pattern that we just work our way up in and then eventually kick out to the downside. That's a possibility. I'm not stating that's my opinion. I'm just stating possibilities there. And then the 30-year yield also working higher. It looks okay because we've got the big buying pressure here, the small selling pressure. Usually when you get these red candlesticks engulfed in the one before it, they kind of come in like this, and that's generally a continuation pattern to the upside. But again, on the longer term, this has fallen out of the pattern to the downside. So it's different time frames. You can be bullish or bearish on different time frames. The 30-year is not going to move as much, so we'll see where it goes. And sometimes you break out, you do some sort of retest, and then it rolls back over again. That could very well be a possibility. TYX TNX ratio, the curve is uninverting. We have a bearish engulfing there where we could head lower for a period of time, and that means the curve is inverting. It's not going to help gold. This is not, the conditions in the short term are not helping gold at this time. Although we are at a very low level in terms of so think of the yield curve inverted. So it's inverted, but when we go uninvert, that is bullish for precious metals. So in the short term, we're having a pullback in this. In the longer term, we're still at very favorable levels for precious metals to continue higher. TLT, which is bond prices, this is yields moving up is bond prices moving down, and that still looks like we could potentially head lower. It is a bearish engulfing candle where we could potentially head lower in the very short term. You can see the wicks at the top there forming, and that's just selling pressure. We're getting some selling pressure there. That's the wick on the monthly in there. A couple of selling pressure days, we could come back a little bit. Think of it as a breakout retest. Could be something like that in store for us. I do not trade the short term. Just keep that in mind. I'm more of a longer term play. The 2 and 10, we inverted today. That's the 2-year going up a lot, 2.25, and the 10-year going up 0.88. So we're coming up a little bit with the yield curve. So the short end of the curve is coming up faster than the long end. That is not favorable for gold to go higher in, generally speaking. So gold is down $15, and we're getting a pullback here. Now, a lot of people are saying, relative strength indicator, all this stuff is real, real high. I don't use that stuff, guys. I don't. I don't think I don't think it's worthwhile for a long-term investor to be looking at some of these technical indicators, and I don't really use those. So if we get a pullback, we could easily work off that RSI by going sideways or by just drifting a little bit lower and not giving too much of an opportunity to buy it at levels that are drastically lower than where we are today. If yields were to surge higher, then we could see this pull back more. And if the yield curve really starts to invert again, that's really what you're betting on, in my opinion. Now, there is strong support here at about 25.60 if you want to know where strong support is. Silver's down 1.23. I still think this looks fantastic. I don't see huge selling pressure. And I know we're down, 40 cents today roughly, but that pales in comparison to the up days we had over here. So the momentum is still to the upside. We're getting some selling pressure, and this is probably going to be some sort of consolidation pullback. We are on top of support. Everything looks good. Do not soil yourself because you have a small pullback here, this consolidation. So don't get too frustrated. You just got to be patient. And like some of these guys say in some of the books, we're in a bull market. that's what you got to tell yourself. Platinum getting selling off 3%. We've had a big move here. So all those big green candlesticks, and we are getting close to resistance. The resistance line is up there, that blue line, trend line. It's a little bit lower than that too. You can draw these on the closes, depending on what time frame you use and the closing prices. Let me do the weekly candlesticks here, guys. Here's weeklies. So you could use the weekly candlesticks there and go off the closing prices. That puts us somewhere in this general region there. And we're coming up against some resistance, and we're getting a little bit of selling pressure. All I want to see is higher lows, stepping right up into that resistance. Well, it's an area up here. It's not that line, but the line is an indication of where that resistance area is. Palladium also heading back. We are tagging a little bit of support. There's a lot of support through this region through here. So that's where we're getting support. You can see all the buying and selling that's occurred underneath us. So it's going to be supportive here, and I would expect this to probably try to turn around somewhere in this general region here or go sideways. GDX down a little bit. GDXJ down about 1.5%. SILJ down about 2.9. SILJ is just doing a retest, guys. It's just a retest. So we'll see if we hold here. If we hold here and start to bounce, okay, cool, right? Okay, cool. And then if it doesn't, and we get a little bit more of a pullback, I still don't think that things are broken enough where silver sitting on top of everything would scare me out of it. So I think it still looks good, and that's across the board, GDXJ, GDX, all of them. None of them look like they're falling off a cliff or anything like that. XAU to gold ratio, it's pulled on back from this resistance level. We had a little bit of a pullback here, and we'll see if we create a higher low wherever it wants to go. And that's what I'm looking. We've broken the longer term trend line, that guy. We've broken that to the upside. We don't have a lot of selling pressure over here. See those small red candlesticks? I would be as bullish as I could be to the upside. I think we're going higher. We've got crude oil basically trading flat, down 0.04%. What I see here is there's still a bearish stance in this chart. The bearish stance is whenever you sell off, you get these upward facing patterns, and then you get a surge or impulse move lower, and I don't see a big, huge bounce yet. So we could still see some lower prices in the short term of crude oil or sideways action on top of this support for a little bit. So that's what I'm seeing there in the short term. TTF gas still working its way on higher, looking good. We're going to come to a little bit of resistance through this area up here, which we're just underneath. Bigger picture view, we're coming from basically a retest. So we got these big candlesticks on the top. Those are usually topping patterns when you get up here. It tops out and then it works all the way down. And then this is a good spot to be looking because you're back doing a retest of that breakout. Natural gas in America just moving sideways. Here's your double bottom, and then your ideal buy point was there for the trade. So probably the algorithms picked that up and pushed it higher. But this looks good on a longer term basis. We're at a very low level, kind of a shoulder, head, shoulder, not really a good looking one, but it could easily work its way on up or sideways here. It's still in this basing period. We're not necessarily in a favorable, well, no, we would be entering a favorable area because prices usually go up before the winter and then sell off late stage in winter. So that still looks good. We've got XOP, yeah, you know me, up a little bit today, but again, we don't have that strong follow through. We've got some, I would say, stronger selling pressure here, and the buyers just aren't showing up yet. So maybe we've got some more consolidation to go, or maybe even downward action before those buyers step in. OIH feeling the same thing as XOP. So you get these big impulse moves lower, a consolidation this way, which is bearish, kicks you out. You come on up, and you still get this kind of large selling pressure 1, 2, 3 impulse, and then the response to that impulse isn't as big. So there still could be some downside pressure in it. I don't think it. Well, we'll see what the overall market does. If the market gets spooked, or if there is a recession, that very well could head lower at a little bit greater speed. Newcastle coal futures working its way up a little bit, 0.2%. I think this is a good location to be looking. Natural gas has been heading higher, and I think coal will eventually head higher with it. Sprott Uranium Trust down about 1%. It still looks good, guys. This doesn't look bad. So you squeezed up into this corner here, popped up, and not much selling pressure. Still looks good at this time. Uranium futures still heading higher, looking good to work its way on up. I like seeing the confluence between Sprott Physical and this futures pricing. URA down a little bit. We're getting a little bit of selling pressure here. It's not a ton. It's not a ton. And we could see a pullback to this level here at 27. That is still game. URNM is doing the same thing. We could see a pullback to about $44-ish. And then URNJ is doing the same thing. We could see a pullback to $21-ish. I told you not to lose your cookies here. Don't. If it comes on and you get these small little red candlesticks, this is a good spot to be looking for a potential entry point, in my opinion. That is not advice. That is just my opinion and what I would do. Copper getting some selling pressure today. You can see a big wick at the top. We could see some consolidation or maybe slightly lower. Could turn into a little bit of a selling pressure move, but we've got a big move here already. So it's just a little bit of profit taking going on. We've got COPX also selling off a little bit, but still looks pretty bullish at this time. So we could consolidate maybe sideways or something like that. Iron ore up down 1.9. We had a monster move for Monday. Monster move Monday. Monday. This is I guess this is ahead of us. So this is Tuesday, but because I'm like that's Monday today. Big move there and a little bit of selling pressure. Still looks good to work its way on up. This kind of looks like a double bottom. It just it did the slingshot. It got pulled lower than this low here, and then it slingshot itself higher. That kind of gets you. Gets some people, scares people out. Aluminum right at resistance. We'll see if we can punch through it. But we've been going through resistance and support Oof, let's punch through it. We've got nickel moving sideways. And again, I wouldn't jump on the nickel train yet. We have big selling pressure coming down, and I don't see that. I think we still got to base out. And there is the potential that we could do one last leg lower and scare everybody, and one washout sale, and then it slingshots higher. Moo looks good. Just a small little down candlestick. The big green army showing up. It looks good to continue higher. That's your agribusiness ETF. Falling wedge breakout. Everything looks good. We've got emerging markets down 1.6%. As expected, guys. I mean, this doesn't get these big gaps too going on, and they may get filled over the time, but maybe we have rates come on up, it does this, and then we rip it. But everything is still bullish. I wouldn't look at this from a bearish perspective. I think we're going higher. The short term's the hardest to read. The short term's the hardest to get right on a consistent basis. So what I do is I take a longer view approach, and I look at it from trying to capture this big move here, and then understanding why that move occurred. And as long as the conditions are present for this move to occur, which I think they're forming for that move right now, then I think we could see it. The reason that this went down was that big increase in interest rates that they did, and it was the strength of the dollar. KRE up 1.22%, still looking good. Still looking good. Still in my awesome pattern that I drew a long time. Bullish, engulfing, so it looks like we could go higher. TAN up a little bit. It wasn't like rates or dollar was really helping any of these. Lit got lit today, 2.5%. What's up with these gaps, guys? This is like gap heaven here. Gap every single day there. It's a lot of gaps. And I'm not talking about the clothes that you wear in Mall of America. REMX, 1.4% up, but it does look like we're losing some steam. How do I know that? The candlestick opening and closing prices are contracting. So you're coming on up, and then it looks like you want to do a pullback here. Then we watch to see what kind of selling pressure we get next trading session. Are we going to sell off with the big candlestick, or is it going to be a small little selling pressure move where you get just these small little guys that come on back like this? That's good to go higher. That kind of form that pattern. My guess is the small little guys. That's my guess. We'll see what happens. Baltic Dry Index up, continuing to go up, looks real strong. This is linked to iron ore. Baltic Dry Index is a function of shipping coal and iron ore. I think coal's bottomed. Iron ore looks good. We're going to go higher over time. XHB up a little bit. All those guys thinking that we're in a complete real estate market crash. I don't see it, at least not yet. But this looks good to go higher. Not much selling pressure up there. Still looks favorable for a move up. Russell 2000's up, breaking out of this little pattern there. That looks good to continue higher. Sitting above a lot of support. Looks good to go higher, guys. SPX, 0.42%. Somehow this just keeps going up. That's a bullish engulfing. Looks good to go higher. We've got stimulus coming into the system from all angles. Rates are going down. So that looks good to go up. And the NASDAQ still looks okay. Not much selling pressure up here. That's what I'm gauging. I'm gauging the selling pressure. These guys scare me. These guys scare me. And I am surprised that this turned and broke out to the upside. That is where the plunge protection team starts entering my mind. Like, how did they get this up here? SMCI, we've got sideways action, but that still looks bearish. Whenever you get these small bounces next to big red candlesticks, I stay bearish until I see otherwise. NVIDIA also underneath resistance. Looks okay though at this time. Low, higher, low, higher, low, and we could easily step right into this and break through it. So that still looks okay. Not that I would buy it, but BTC down 3.3%, getting a little bit more selling pressure. We've got some resistance up here, hence the trend line that we haven't broken out yet. So a little bit of resistance as we head up there. Ethereum also selling off a little bit. Still looks okay though. That doesn't look bad. Still looks all right to move higher. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website if you're interested. We got that May Day coupon code that's still active. Gives you a 50% off the first month only if you want to try it out. And you can always join the yearly membership with a much larger discount than the monthly. But that's what I've got for today, guys. We've got a midweek update coming Wednesday. I'll share my opinions across the board on that. And that's all I've got for today, guys. So catch you next time. This is Finding Value.